October 17th, Feast of Saint Ignatius of Antioch, Bishop and Martyr. Welcome to Daily Saints with Grace. Concise, faithful storytelling that moves quickly and stays true. Here, we bring you the lives of the saints with focus, depth, and momentum. What kind of faith refuses rescue and welcomes the teeth of beasts? That question follows a bishop in chains on the road to Rome. Ignatius of Antioch, early church father and witness to the faith. He writes as he walks. His letters call for unity when factions rise, confess Jesus as our God, and record the earliest known use of the name Catholic Church. He will not ask for escape. He calls himself the wheat of God, ready to be ground so that faith becomes bread for others. Why this iron resolve? Who formed a soul that could welcome the arena? And how did road-written letters stiffen the backbone of early Christian life? Bishop, altar, and people in one rhythm. Antioch was a crossroads. Merchants shouting in Greek, soldiers barking in Latin, prayers whispered in Aramaic. It's the first city to say Christian, and the pressure of empire pressed on every street. In that heat, Ignatius of Antioch learned to think like a shepherd and stand like a stone. We know little of his early years on purpose. Sources are quiet, almost protective. Tradition says he moved within circles that remembered the apostles. Reports claim he knew Polycarp, and through him the memory of John. Treat that as memory, not proof. Still, it explains the edge in his voice. Authority without swagger, conviction without noise. When he became bishop, Antioch was fracturing. House groups split over leaders. Arguments about who truly spoke for Christ cut deep. Ignatius answered with a simple frame. One altar, one bishop, one body moving together. Not politics, protection. He believed unity was oxygen. Without it, faith suffocates. He also stood against ghosts. Some said Jesus only seemed human. Ignatius would not have it. If Christ's body isn't real, neither is our hope. He tied doctrine to daily bread. A real Savior, a real Eucharist, a real people bound in love and obedience. Why does this matter now? Because in Antioch, before the chains, you can already hear the iron. His choices, unity, realism, courage, made him a target and a witness. Rumors suggest increased scrutiny under Trajan. Accounts say the bishop was seized and ordered to Rome. The road would become his pulpit. Steel on wrists, dust in lungs, and a mind that refuses to slow. Ignatius writes while marching. The first stop with ink and urgency. Smyrna. There he addresses Ephesians, Magnesians, Trallians, three communities, one theme, hold the line together. He warns that clever talk splits the flock, but a people gathered around one shepherd won't scatter. Unity isn't image control for him. It's survival. He keeps repeating the core without repeating himself. Stay close to your bishop, stay rooted in the teaching, and keep charity burning hot. At Smyrna, he also faces a colder wind. Those claiming Christ only seemed human. Ignatius answers with the table. If the Lord's body is not real, neither is the meal that feeds us. From Troas, the chain moves, and so do the letters. Philadelphians, Smyrnaeans, Polycarp. He tightens the bolts, real flesh, real cross, real resurrection, so that real courage can grow. His tone shifts when he writes to Rome. No lobbying, no backroom rescue. He begs for one thing only. Do not stand between me and the witness I'm called to give. Across these pages you can hear the gait of the guard and the heartbeat of a pastor. He knows that what the church believes will decide how the church lives and how it dies. Rome, listen. Ignatius writes you with chains on his wrists and fire in his chest. He asks for no favors. Only this, do not rescue me. He calls himself the wheat of God. A grain to be ground so that his life becomes bread. It's not theatrics. It's theology in motion. His body offered so his words won't be empty. He knows how friends think. Good people will try to pull strings, to delay, to bargain. He begs them not to. Let me reach the goal I'm running toward. This isn't despair. It's imitation. If Christ gave himself, Ignatius wants to follow without half steps. No secret deals, no clever exit. He wants witness seen, not merely said. He even fears praise. Flattery is a soft knife. It dulls courage. He asks the Romans to pray not for freedom but for faithfulness. Notice the logic underneath. If faith is real, it must hold when everything breaks. If the Eucharist is real, then the Church is a real body, not a club. A real body bleeds, heals, and lives again. He inventories what may come: teeth, chains, darkness. He does not use cruelty as spectacle. He names it to strip it of surprise. And always the refrain: unity. Don't fracture, don't feud, don't turn my road into a faction's trophy. Keep one heart around one altar. Read the tone closely. It is strict but tender, urgent but clean. He wants Rome to be bold, not noisy, steady, not theatrical. The arena roars in legend. The paperwork is thin. We stand in Rome with a bishop in chains and a story that's partly carved in stone and partly carried by memory. What we know: Ignatius was condemned under Trajan and taken to Rome. His own letters exist, urgent, grounded, impossible to fake as a genre of comfort. What we don't: the exact day, the precise arena, and every detail of the final scene. The Colosseum is often named, but sources don't hand us a ticket stub. Tradition says he faced animals and did not flinch. Reports claim believers gathered what they could and honored his remains. Over centuries, communities point to relics. The trail is reverent, but not airtight. Does the uncertainty weaken the witness? No, it sharpens it. We can't script the choreography of that day, but we can read the mind that walked into it because he wrote it down. His letters refuse spectacle. They name fear without feeding it. They aim at unity, not applause. So history gives us anchors. Memory fills in the weather. Together they show a pastor who would rather be faithful than famous. And this is the turn that outlasts the stadium. Ideas that would not die, real incarnation, real Eucharist, one church breathing in sync. 3 ideas hold his letters like iron bars. Real incarnation, real Eucharist, real unity. First, the flesh. Rumors said Christ only seemed human. Ignatius answers bluntly: if the body wasn't real, the cross is a costume. If the cross is a costume, salvation is a story, nothing more. Second, the table. He ties doctrine to food. The meal is not a metaphor you admire. It is a presence you receive. That's why he warns: deny the reality of Christ's body, and you starve your soul while chewing bread. Third, one heart. He sketches a pattern as clean as a spine. One bishop, one altar, one people. Not to feed egos, to stop the slow leak of division. Unity keeps the church breathing. Rivalry collapses the lungs. These aren't slogans. They're guardrails for a community under pressure. He knows talk is cheap, so he nails practice to belief: worship together, think together, live clean, stay courageous. And then the word that won't stop echoing: Catholic. Not a brand, a claim of wholeness. Where Christ is, the whole church gathers, no secret clubs, no private altars. You can feel the urgency. Ignatius isn't defending an idea for debate night. He's tightening bolts on a ship midstorm. If these bolts hold, ordinary people survive. Critics still ask how early, how original, how certain. Fair questions. His voice, though, sounds like a man who doesn't have time for theater. He writes what he expects his people to do by sunset. Hold the blueprint up to any age of chaos and it reads current. Flesh over fantasy. Table over talk. One heart over headlines. Are these letters the real voice of Ignatius, or a later ventriloquist? Scholars sort the manuscripts into 3 piles. Short recension. Trimmed in Syriac, only a few letters survive there. Long recension. Expanded with extra phrases and tone polishing that smell like later edits. Middle recension. 7 lean, urgent letters that sound like a man writing on the move. Most experts back the middle 7 because the style is tight, the theology matches early 2nd century battles, and ancient witnesses list these very communities. The words feel unpolished, impatient, alive, like field notes, not a committee draft. The pushback? Some argue the church structure in the letters, Strong bishop, one altar looks too developed for 110. Others question travel logistics or see the rhetoric as too perfect against certain heresies. The reply is simple. Cities do not grow at the same speed. What Antioch or Asia Minor practiced early could spread later. Roman prisoner transfers happened. Routes through Smyrna and Troas make sense on a map. And forged letters usually over-explain. Ignatius under-explains, because his readers already live this reality. Dating? The majority places him in Trajan's years, early 2nd century. A minority pushes later into Hadrian's time, arguing the tone fits mid-century pressure. Treat that as debate, not demolition. Here's the bottom line. When texts are fake, scrutiny breaks them. When they're real, scrutiny burns off the varnish and leaves the grain. Ignatius's voice comes through scarred, not smoothed. Exactly what you'd expect from iron on flesh and a pen in chains. When the noise of Rome fades, his letters remain. Short, urgent, and strangely calm. They don't chase drama. They defuse it. They name what is real and dare you to live as if reality matters. If Christ is truly flesh, then hope is not poetry. If the Eucharist is truly presence, then worship is not a show. If the church is one heart, then rivalry is spiritual smoke that chokes love. This is why Ignatius still unsettles us. He asks the modern listener a blunt question. Are you building a platform or a body? Likes gather fast. Communion gathers slow. Rumors swirl. Debates endure. Footnotes expand. Yet the core does not blink. He would rather be faithful than clever, rather be bread than brand. Here is the surprising edge. A man who begged not to be rescued has, across centuries, rescued many. From cynicism, from spectacle, from the quiet belief that truth must dress like a trend to survive. So hold a single image. Wheat in a mill. Stone turns. Grain breaks. And in the breaking, it becomes food. Ask yourself one hard thing this week. Where do I choose noise over unity, symbol over substance, crowd over cross? If you can name it, you can nail it. Thanks for watching Daily Saints with Grace, where we keep these stories fast, faithful, and alive for today's world. If this journey with Saint Ignatius of Antioch helped you, share it with someone who needs courage that isn't loud.